In anticipation for the I Play Rocky movie being released in November, I felt inclined to go back and rewatch all 6 Rocky movies and sort of refresh my memory and love of the franchise. And then I decided I might as well rank them from worst to best, because that's what everyone does with movie franchises. What's the best, what's the worst? So, can't beat them, join them. So like many other people my age, perhaps, I was shown the movies by my dad when I was a kid. And he bought me this 6-movie box set, which was the first box set of movies he actually bought for me. So I've got really fond memories of watching the movies as a kid. I think the real reason he bought the box set was because he wanted to rewatch the movies himself, but either way, I got to watch them with my dad. So I've got fond memories of the movies, and not that I'd forgotten about them, but I hadn't watched them for a while, not really thought about them. And then I saw the trailer come out for the I Play Rocky movie about the sort of origin of how Sylvester Stallone got the movie, made, and how he managed to star in it. And it just got me thinking about the movies, and I went, yeah, okay, you know what? I've not seen them for a while. So the whole purpose of this video is I'm sort of just venting my opinions after watching them, because it's either that or just the voices in my head. I just tell myself about the movies. So you're welcome. Here's my opinion that you didn't ask for. And I must say, the movies still do really hold up. Even the, worse ones, there's still a lot of love that you can find within the movies, and there's always a piece, there's always something you can find that you like and enjoy, and it's worth watching. And a few of the movies have a few low points, but overall they're all pretty solid. But I'll stop rambling and I'll get to the rankings. So from worst to best. I say worst, but I don't believe that there is a worst Rocky movie. I just think some of the movies are not as good as the best ones. So anyways, I digress. The worst one on the list, probably to no one's surprise, is Rocky V. And Sylvester Stallone himself hates this movie.
Rocky V.
0.
No, was it that bad, Rocky V?
Yeah, it was bad.
I don't remember it being quite as bad as that.
It's just, it was goose egg. I was definitely not there. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do the last one. Because I said, if you're going to end up on doing something, like, you can't, so it was so bad, so off key.
Yeah. No, he sort of did that for comedic effect, because it's not that bad. I think it's very harsh. I think it's a great movie. The main thing that I find in this movie that I enjoy about it is the character study between not only Rocky, but his relationship with his son, and how you can watch that relationship sort of fully develop, because his son was born in Rocky 2, but then he doesn't really have a character arc. He's just a kid up until this movie, and he's going into school, going into his teenage years, and sort of finding himself. And he's at the time of his life where he just wants, the affection and attention of his dad, but his dad is sort of misplacing his affection and energy towards someone else, who is in the form of Tommy Gunn, which sort of becomes his new prodigy, and then Rocky becomes a father figure to Tommy instead of Rocky Jr. And I feel like it's a sort of relatable moment for all of us, because we've all been in that situation as kids where all we want is our dad's attention, and you're there, look at me, look what I'm doing, Dad, pay attention to me. And more often than not, perhaps it's, yeah, very good, or I'm busy, go away, or yeah, okay, I'll hang out with you later. And it's sort of soul crushing, because you just want the attention from the person that you see as your superhero. So it sort of, in my case anyways, it put me in that situation where I was like, oh, I can kind of relate to Rocky Jr. and just wanting that attention from a parental figure. So it sort of really grounded the characters and made them feel relatable, even 5 movies in. And so, because Rocky gets sort of tied up in training Tommy and ignores his son, his relationship with his son, without even realizing, starts to sort of crumble a bit. And then when Tommy Gunn goes on and he gets corrupted by the fame and fortune of Rocky's training, and he does really well and progresses up through the ranks of boxing, he then gets a different manager who sort of corrupts his mind and sort of brainwashes him, sort of, you're the best, ignore everyone else is Rocky's irrelevant, blah, blah, blah. So then Rocky loses his relationship with Tommy that he's spent all this time forming, And then he's also then realised his son's not in the picture anymore, sort of distanced himself from his dad as well. So then he's not only fighting with Tommy Gunn, but he's fighting to reform that relationship with his son. And then also his wife is resenting him a little bit for ignoring his son. And then it's a situation where I really like how it's sort of like a street level movie in comparison to Rocky IV that just came before it, which was, you know, a massive spectacle. And it had like references to the Cold War. It became a bit political, and it was like, you know, the whole world is watching Rocky and Ivan Drago fighting. Whereas this movie, after he sort of loses all of his fortune and he's back to where he started at the beginning, it's sort of like a nice full circle moment, and he's like, you know, he's still the same person throughout his whole journey. It's just his financial situation has changed, but he's still that relatable guy. Even if you can't relate to him throughout all of his life situations, he's still, you know, there's still a character in there that you can relate to. I really like Tommy Gunn as the confused kid that he is, as he wants to be the best and is a good boxer to the point where he gets there, but then he is corrupted by the fame and girls and money. And it was like a nice commentary on what fame is like, and not everyone, you know, not everyone's personality can handle the fame and what comes with it. And then the actor Tommy Morrison in real life was a successful boxer and sort of did crumble under the weight of the fame and his sex life and the money, and he sort of slipped into drug addiction and really sort of followed the path of his character he played, and in real life did end up actually dying. So rest in peace, Tommy. I think his performance in the movie was really solid though, and he was a believable character, and he was just really confused and didn't know who to turn to and didn't have that father figure to, you know, guide him. He only had Rocky for a short time, and then, you know, the idea of riches overtook his mind and sort of corrupted him. So that was a nice sort of commentary on that. And I mean, the only downside of the movie I'd have to say is the plot is very different from its predecessors. So if you're anticipating a big, like, fun boxing match at the end with high stakes, there isn't that in this movie. So for that reason, the ending can kind of fall short for some people. And also the pacing of the story is a bit jumbled, but at the end of the day, it's still very entertaining and enjoyable, and a nice sort of more in-depth look of Rocky on the other side of his fame and fortune. Okay, number 5 on the list, I'm going to put Rocky III. I might get a bit of hate for this, as it's sort of considered one of the better ones and many people's favourites, and that's fine, because I still like the movie too. I don't think there is a bad Rocky movie, like I said, so, you know, keep your hair on. The main things I like about this movie is it shows Rocky struggling and getting distracted with his newfound fame and fortune, and sort of lets his ego get the better of him. He gets a bit cocky. He's like, yeah, no one can beat me. See me, I'm the heavyweight of the world. I beat Apollo Creed. You know, I'm so good. But to the point where he loses to Clubber Lang, you know, he sort of loses himself a little bit into the fame and fortune, sort of like Tommy does in the 5th movie. And so he loses to Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T. You know, Mr. T, fresh off of the A-Team, puts in a solid performance as the intimidating Clubber Lang, and as a delight to watch as the unstoppable Tank, and the first sort of real intimidating opponent Rocky's had. Because Apollo Creed was, you know, he was the showman, he was the Floyd Mayweather of this sort of movie, and he was a delight to watch, but it wasn't overly scary. Whereas, you know, Mr. T's portrayal of Clubber Lang, before their first fight, you know, he inadvertently sort of kills Mickey, Rocky's trainer. So it's set stakes from like the get-go. Right, he's absolutely no joke. And Mickey was like terrified of letting Rocky go and fight him. So that was cool to sort of like, you know, it was obviously sad to watch Mickey die, but it was a good way of showing that he is an intimidating force and Rocky has to snap out of it and take him seriously. But once Lang sort of, you know, defeats Rocky and sort of not only defeats him in the ring, but sort of defeats his, like, destroys his confidence, and that ego is sort of shattered, and he has to sort of re-find himself to go out and then actually beat Lang and reclaim his title. Also, the emotional scene of his mentor Mickey dying just before his first fight with Clubber Lang, leading to Rocky sort of feeling lost and alone and struggling, I think it was really powerful. And then without a trainer, Rocky just sort of gets lost in a deeper depression and goes, what do I do with myself now? And then it was pretty cool how they brought back Apollo Creed, but as a friend this time round. And he's like, you got to snap out of it. Come on, I'm going to train you. So that was like a cool character development from Creed as well. And sort of their friendship sort of really flourishes in this movie. So that's really nice to watch. Like that's really satisfying because it's like, oh, it's the buddies. Up until Rocky IV, but we'll get to that. Also, the relationship between Rocky and his brother-in-law Paulie is further explored like more deeply because Paulie was more of a background character in the first two movies. So it was really interesting to see sort of Paulie's perspective of what it's like being, the brother to the girl that's married to the, the best boxer in the world, and how they're sort of firing up in fame and he's sort of being left behind, and how does he deal with that, and his sort of jealousy overtakes him, consumes him, and he turns to the alcohol and drinking. And I like how sort of Rocky talks him down from his aggressive alcoholism and doesn't look down on him or meet him with like aggravated, aggressive confrontation. He looks at him from a place of empathy and compassion, and I just thought that was like a nice touch in the relationship. And then sort of solidified. It followed Paulie's sort of, in the first movie he's quite abusive and like he's just a bit of like that guy, we don't really want him around. But then he becomes more human by the third movie. So like the character development all round is pretty solid. Especially Adrian and Rocky's relationship, which I think truly flourishes in this movie above all the other ones, because Rocky he's spiraling, and as he said, he's afraid for the first time. And then she steps in as the sort of the confident, steadfast partner. So she like swaps the roles with Rocky, because in the first movie she's like shy and timid, and he's like yo Adrian, I'm the cocky boxer, I look after you. And then in this movie he's all like, I'm pure sad, I'm rubbish, what am I gonna do? And then she's like, come on, stop being a baby, come on, get off your arse, get back out there. And it's nice because it actually gives Adrian like a proper role, instead of just being Rocky's wife, just being the shy girl that is married to Rocky. She actually gets to properly shine through in this role. And it also sort of shows how they complement each other nicely. When one person is lacking confidence, the other one builds them up, and vice versa. And they sort of look after each other and fit together nicely. So it actually shows how their relationship is, good. And with the addition of Survivor's Eye of the Tiger, it makes for a great soundtrack, and the movie makes you just want to get off your bum and work out. It's, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone is in the best shape of his life in this movie, and it gives you that boost of motivation that you want to be like, okay, I want to look like that. Okay, come on, go to the gym. So even that alone, it's like really inspirational, and all the movies sort of are, but I really like that. Number 4 on the list is Rocky Balboa. I like the premise of this one. Like Rocky is sort of almost forgotten about, but if his name is mentioned, people know who he is and go, oh yeah, of course, Rocky Balboa. But he's not like thought about and talked about often in modern boxing. And this sort of movie recognizes Rocky as an icon and they sort of talk about how modern boxing is gone downhill a bit. It's not as entertaining, or the fighters aren't what they used to be, that sort of thing. So they do a comparison of if Rocky was in his prime today and he fought the heavyweight champion of the world, Mason Dixon, today, who would come out on top, and they put it through like a computer simulation, and then Rocky wins in the simulation. And it's like, looking at it, it's like, oh, that's a cool comparison, because like we can talk about that today. We go like, if that fighter was in his prime, would Muhammad Ali beat Conor McGregor in a boxing match? So, or how would it work out? And it's like a fun idea, but then in Rocky's mind, instead of going, oh, that's a cool idea, would I beat him? It like lingers in his mind of going, would I beat him? Would I beat him? Would I beat him? Would I beat him today? Oh, forget about it. I'm past that point. Unless. And then he starts training again, and then he accepts a fight with the new heavyweight champion of the world, Mason Dixon. And to prove to himself more than anything else, he accepts a fight with Mason Dixon, yeah. And much like the original, by the end, he doesn't beat him because he's like 60 at this point, but he's still standing at the end of the movie because, as he says, it's not how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And it's like, yeah, cool. And it just, 6 movies in, he's still got that mantra. It's not his body that got him where he was, it's his mind and his motivation, and it's, yeah, you watch it, you can't help but be inspired and go like, okay, the 6-year-old's still doing that, I can do that. Maybe not the boxing thing, but you can do the thing you want to do. And I think it's a great send-off for the character for that time, until he pops up in Creed. But in the essence of signing off the Rocky movies, I think it's a nice send-off because it's like a full circle moment. He's back to the same conclusion as the first Rocky movie. And also he sort of rekindles his relationship with his son by the end of the movie, and his son sort of helps like train him, or not train him, but like be in his corner, and which is like a nice roundabout moment. But still, solid movie. Number 3 on the list is Rocky 2. So this movie was a solid sequel to the original. So Rocky has sort of surpassed what he thought was possible, and then in this movie he continues and then beats Apollo Creed this time round. He gets constant bombardment. Well, Apollo Creed's ego essentially gets attacked and is like, oh, like, you're a shit boxer, or this was rigged, or whatever. And then his ego is like, I'm not taking this, I got to fight him again. And Rocky's like, well, okay, well, I was kind of happy with the way it turned out, but if you want a rematch, I shot the title, I'm here for it. I think that my favourite part of the movie is a sort of nice moment where Adrian is worried for Rocky's safety, and there's a scene where she's in the sort of pet shop with her brother Paulie, and Paulie's for some reason blaming Adrian for if Rocky gets hurt, it's her fault because he's only fighting for her. I don't know why he's getting all upset about it, but she hits him back with, if he goes blind, you can walk away, but I love him too much, so I'll stay. Which is sort of like her showing, yeah, but I'm the one that really cares about him. I'm the one that's always there for him. You're just like, you're a fly on the wall that's just here to claim, the fame and fortune that can come with his victories and stuff like that. I think it's a nice touch to show like how their relationship is further developing. And then they get married, Rocky and Adrian get married, which is nice, and then they have their baby, Rocky Jr. There's quite a lot happens in the movie, so the pacing is a bit like all over the place. He proposes, they get married, she gets pregnant, has a kid. It's a lot all at once. And then the highlight of the movie, other than like the relationship building between Rocky and Adrian, and then learning a bit more about Paulie and what he's really like, and then sort of seeing the fallout of the fight from Apollo Creed's perspective, and how his sort of fragile ego is like, I'm not taking this. And then it leads to the final battle at the end where Rocky walks away victorious. I think it's so satisfying. It's a great ending, and he finally sort of wins. But it is sort of, the fight is very, similar to the first one. It's just a different final result, so that's a bit of a, it's not a bad thing, but it was a bit like a cut and paste of the final fight. Which sort of holds it back a little bit, but still very solid entry, and it's in my top 3. And speaking of top 3, my second favourite is the original. Yeah, It was almost number one, as it is probably everyone else's, but it was beaten out by the movie that I look back at most fondly as the first one that I saw, and the one that I just think holds up and is just got a slight edge to it, more just from my personal opinion and the way I see it, but I'll get into that in just a second. So, I mean, Rocky 1, the first, it's sort of just it's a retelling of Sylvester Stallone's real life. Not from the point of view of a professional, a struggling boxer wanting to be professional, but from the perspective of a struggling actor wanting to be professional, wanting to make something of himself, and the struggles and the hardship and being a Philadelphia bum, and then working his way up, and then how he got the movie made. So it's like the movie Rocky is like truly inspiring, and by the end of the movie, it makes you want to be a boxer. You watch it, you're just inspired to yeah, I'm gonna go punch a bag, and I'm gonna go run a mile and get a skipping rope, a very manly skipping rope. Like after I watched it for the first time, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna be a boxer. So that's the main heart of the movie, is how inspired you feel at the end and how motivated it makes you to want to do whatever it is that you want to do that you've been putting off. And Rocky's just like, nah, you can do it. And it's amazing how Stallone's acting, he makes you want to be like him. Even though in the movie, he's poor, a bum, doing anything he can to get by and scrape up some money by being a sort of, a loan shark hustler, and, he doesn't have fame and riches, but he's just a really good, motivated person. And you sort of like to see yourself reflecting in him and being, I wish I could be more like that. I wish I could be that motivated to do the things I want to do. And it's just his passion and that character which makes him so appealing. And he's, definitely the type of guy that you want at the gym with you. But I guess the main reason Rocky is so good and beloved is because it's not just another sports movie, not another action sports movie. It's a movie about your dignity and self-worth, which I feel is kind of ever lacking today. And also the fact that the hero doesn't win at the end, which sort of subverted expectations, because you expect, he's going to come up victorious, but it's about his own self-worth, not that, in the eyes of everyone else, he didn't win the match, but to him, he did win, because his goal was just to survive by the end and still be standing and prove that he's not just another bum from the neighborhood. It's also a tale of not allowing yourself to let your dreams pass you by. Like, as Stallone said about writing the movie, he liked the idea of exploring missed potential and people reflecting on their lives, wishing they'd followed through on things and made the most of themselves and regretting how their time has passed them by. So I really like how he sort of made that idea and something we sort of all think about when we get older, and he made it into a movie about a struggling boxer. It's just very intriguing and entertaining. And I also really like his relationship with Adrian in the movie too, because she's sort of sucked into this world of boxing and this sort of more brutal world that she's not used to and doesn't really have an attachment to. And you also meet her brother Paulie, who is shown to be abusive and a jerk to her, and she hasn't really had someone there to protect her. But then Rocky comes along and then is there to protect her physically, and then when Rocky's struggling, trying to prepare for the fight mentally, that's when she steps in and then looks after him mentally as he's protecting her physically. So it's like a nice, they're well balanced for each other and they complement each other nicely. The most iconic line for the movie is the very end. He hasn't won the match, but in his eyes, he has, because he's survived to the end. He's got what it takes to last the 15 rounds with the world heavyweight champion. The first thing he does is looks around for Adrian and goes, "Yo, Adrian, I did it!" And she's just like, "I love you, Rocky." And then they have like a nice cuddle, and then the movie ends there, like the pause of him hugging Adrian, because it's like they stopped it in that moment, being like, his life's not going to get better than this. This is it. He's made it. Snapshot. Which is a great way to end it. And I'm not surprised it won the Oscar. But number one on my list, my personal favourite is Rocky IV. Mainly because, well, it's the first one I saw, so I'm a bit biased that way. I really like the character of Ivan Drago because he's the first character that I was sort of actually afraid of when I watched the movies. I was like, he's actually really intimidating, you know, as he possesses like a real threat to Rocky, because within the first few minutes of the movie, he kills his best friend, Apollo Creed, the previous, you know, heavyweight champion of the world. And he's like, you know, he's no joke. He's like, yeah, I just, a few rounds in, killed him. Yeah, I'm just that good and that powerful. And it is cool how Ivan Drago kind of came back for Creed 2 and made an appearance in that, which was cool. But yeah, after he kills Apollo, Rocky is like filled with such regret and pain, as he could have stopped the fight. You know, he brought the towel up, he was about to throw it in, but then Apollo's ego again got the better of him and was like, no, let me see it through. And then, you know, one punch later, he's down, he's dead. You see his body like jiggling on the floor, and it's like actually really brutal. Like I saw that when I was, I don't know, like 8 or something. And I was like, oh my god, that like it's scary when I was a kid. So it was almost like a horror movie if you watch it when you're too young. But yeah, but as the movie goes on, you know, Rocky takes it upon himself. I must avenge my best friend. You know, like as guys, that's like a big honor. You got to have your friends back. You got to avenge them. You got to look out for them. And then when you fail in that duty of protecting your friend and they die, then you'll do everything in your power to avenge them. So then, therefore, he must go and fight Ivan Drago. And then everything's against him. The fight's not in America, it's in Russia, so he's not in his home country. His opponent is Ivan Drago. He's got the best trainers, the best training equipment, and best steroids in the world, bulking him up. You know, his trainer's telling him, don't do this, look what happened to Apollo. And then the person that's always got his back, has always had his back, and is always pushing him and motivating him and making him feel safe in his wife Adrian, is telling him to not do it because he can't win. So even the person he loves the most is turning against him. So in the previous movies, he's fighting his own mental battle. In this movie, he's fighting his own mental battle. All of his loved ones, all of his trainers, and everyone else that knows him is like, don't, you're gonna die. And yet, by the end of the movie, he still is victorious, just because, you know, he's an absolute legend, and he just, you know, smashed it. And I think the final fight in Rocky IV is probably the best one as well. So it leaves, you know, when you walk away from the movie, it's the last thing you see. So you're left with that, you know, that positive memory of the amazing last fight. Because when you leave a movie, the thing you remember most about the movie is the last thing that you saw. So if it's a good ending, then you'll look at the movie more fondly as well. And, you know, at the end of the fight as well, Rocky gives like a nice little speech about, you know, coming together. You know, it was like during the Cold War, you know, and there's like tensions were high, and it's like, right, you know, but yeah, guys, you know, I'm just a boxer, but you Russians, us Americans, we've got to come together. We've got to be friends. Let's not nuke the shit out of each other. So it's like, you know, it got a bit political, which, you know, you see it how you want. You know, it's a boxing movie, it's a sports movie. Does it really need to be political? Maybe not, but when I was a kid, I have no idea what the Cold War was, and that sort of I found out through Rocky. So, you know, it's kind of educational, depending how you come at it. So it sort of makes it feel more grounded in reality, because it talks about like the real events of the Cold War. So it may as well be like a true story. So it makes you feel like you're, you know, it's a piece of history. Also, you just really want to see Rocky beat him. You really want to see him beat the cheating Russian. And when he does, it is so satisfying, because you see, like, during the fight, Ivan Drago, you see fear in his eyes for the first time in the movie. And it's like, oh yeah, he's got the edge on him now. He's mentally stronger than him now. He's scared, he's cowering back. Rocky's got this. So that's a really satisfying scene in the final fight as well. And all round, I just enjoy it the most. It's just my favourite. I like all the characters. I like the solid opening of Apollo Creed getting slaughtered and then just being like, damn, like, you're getting emotional every time he comes in singing "Living in America," and then just gets emotional. And everyone, I think, gave their best performances throughout the movie, especially Rocky and Adrian. And what else can I say other than I just really like it? It's just my favourite one. But yeah, the list all round, it's just my personal opinion. You know, don't hate me too much, and feel free to comment your ranking below. What's your favourite? What's your least favourite? And you know, try be civil about it. You can disagree with me, that's totally fine. But have a conversation about it. Tell me why I'm wrong. You know, start a conversation, that'd be great. Don't just call me an idiot. No, be civil, be nice about it. And let's get a conversation going. But on that note, I'll see you in the next one.
Good night.